Hello everybody, this is Johnston Coronation with a weekend review. I'm going to talk about what happened this past weekend, but before I do that, I'd like to thank you all for getting us to 1,000 subscribers so we can monetize the channel. That would help me someday, as my goal would be to actually hire an editor, and maybe in the off scene we could do like stories or skits or movies, because I know that I can direct a movie. It's only a matter of time. Okay, Rutgers versus Temple. Rutgers took care of business, kind of squashed Temple. Greg Schiano will be having them be he'll get them to the point that they're a fairly decent football team, probably this season. And decent means they go to a bowl game every year. Maryland versus West Virginia. It was a good game. Maryland, I thought, was fun to watch. Mike Locksley, I think, will be a really good coach for them, but they're in the Big Ten East, and maybe this year they could just play a spoiler role and ruin other people's lives. That's what I expect out of Maryland. Michigan State versus Northwestern. I watched that game, so you didn't have to. You can thank me by subscribing. It was rough. Northwestern's defensive coordinator retired last season after 13 years with the Wildcats, 51 total in coaching football. So I think he deserves a retirement, but it showed. I don't think the Wildcat guys knew what they were doing on defense for, well, a large part of the game. Because Michigan State, they gave up some plays that you looked at and went, where is the defense actually at? And this was a game between two teams that are not very good. I don't know how Northwestern's going to generate any offense this year. Michigan State, we play both these teams in a few weeks, Nebraska does, and I would expect that even as not good as we are, that we get 2 wins out of these teams. But they were both pretty rough. Michigan, I did not watch the Michigan game, but I know that their most explosive wide receiver, Ronnie Bell, is gone for the season because of a knee injury, which is too bad for them. I know that sounded a little sarcastic, but you know, you never like to see good guys. You don't like to see guys get injured because, you know, they're people and they can be fun to watch even if they're not your guy. Which brings me to Minnesota versus Ohio State. Thursday night, Minnesota played very well and led at half. It was the first time Ohio State was behind at half since the previous season when Nebraska played them. And what happened in the second half? Ohio State happened in the second half. And you see what the problem with playing Ohio State is. Minnesota, I think, played very well. Their offensive line played against one of the best defensive lines in the nation, did well. Mo Ibrahim got injured, and he will be out for the year because he's going to have surgery, which really sucks for Minnesota because he was a big part of their offense. He's a guy you can just hand the ball to, and you know he's going to get 4 yards at a minimum. But in the second half, you know, Ohio State has probably the best receiving core in the nation. And when you're playing defense, you have to give up something, and you have to focus on trying to take something away, which means you're giving up something else. And against Ohio State, what are you going to do? You're going to guard against the pass because they'll kill you with the run. If you try to stop the run and make them one-dimensional in the passing game, then you try to cover all the receivers. They have so many weapons that you can't possibly defend against them. They're going to score their points, which was what they did against Minnesota. You can't make any mistakes. You have to do what Minnesota did in the first half, which is control the ball, control the clock, and keep their offense off the field. But sooner or later, they're just, you know, they're going to just explosive plays. That's what happened in Minnesota. I would have said before this, I might have said that I'd picked Minnesota right now to win the Big Ten West, but with Mo out, I think that's a huge loss for them. So no, I'll pick somebody in a bit. Ohio State's quarterback, C.J. Stroud, started rough, but, you know, he'll figure it out because I mean, what are they going to do? If he doesn't figure it out, they got 15 more quarterbacks to line up and try. Iowa versus Indiana. I expected this to be a really good game. And it was a really good game if you were an Iowa fan. Indiana had one of their best seasons in decades last year, and a large part of that was because of Michael Penix, their quarterback. In this game, Michael Penix looked unbelievably bad. He threw 3 interceptions, I think it was. Here's the thing. Iowa won this game, 34-6? Iowa's offense can't put up 34 points on their own. They have to be given points, and they were given points. Indiana gave them 2 pick sixes, and it was really bad. The one thing about it is, on the Iowa side, I thought Spencer Petras, their starting quarterback, looked a lot better than he had in the past. He looked a lot more accurate. He didn't end up with a really high quarterback rating, but between him and Tyler Goodson, I don't want to say this out loud, but I'm going to. Right now, I'd pick Iowa to win the Big Ten West. And I feel so dirty. I feel like I should take a shower or something. Maybe burn myself to get the germs off. And one of the reasons why I'm going to pick Iowa is because previously I would have picked Wisconsin. And I watched Wisconsin, Penn State. Wisconsin's defense played really well in the first half. It was a tough game. It was your typical low-scoring, bang-it-out Big Ten game. But the problem was Wisconsin made 4 trips to the red zone and only scored once. Graham Mertz was supposed to be their big quarterback from last season. And again, I'll bring up the Illinois game from last year that he played, where he completed all these passes and was just amazing. And then he's never been that guy again. But in this game, he threw 2 incredibly costly interceptions. And Graham Mertz cost him the game. He just did. They had a field goal blocked. Wisconsin just, Penn State played a little better, and that was it. And one guy made all the difference. Illinois lost to University of Texas at San Antonio. Why did this happen? Well, because Illinois isn't a very good football team. And why did Nebraska lose to them? Because we're not a very good football team. And, that's just the truth of the matter. If you remember, Brandon Peters got injured. Their Illinois starting quarterback, Brandon Peters, was injured against Nebraska. Sikowski started this game. He didn't play particularly well. UTSA just made plays where Nebraska made plays against themselves. And maybe if you say, I might get into trouble with this from the Illinois people, will say you're not giving us any credit. Nebraska really beat ourselves in that first game of the season rather than Illinois beating us. And that's probably going to be true the rest of the season for Nebraska unless we get our crap together. I watched the Notre Dame Florida State game. That was a phenomenal game. Both teams looked completely inept early on. And then Florida State did something later in the game that they hadn't done in years. And one of the problems with Florida State football is their offensive line has been terrible for many years, like 6 or 7 years. And I'm not talking, you could watch this as a Nebraska guy and go, well, our offensive line has been bad. Not as bad as Florida State's, because Florida State's, they've gotten guys just killed. When Nebraska doesn't do good protection, it's because Martinez is holding the ball too long, I think. Florida State played extremely well. The story of the weekend was Mackenzie Milton and how he came back from a almost unbelievably bad knee-shattering experience and almost got Florida State the win. And it was really a damn shame to see Notre Dame pull it out because, fuck them. Brian Kelly's an ass. His team played pretty decently, and then at the end of the game, he makes some stupid remark about his team should be executed. This is not a remark that should be made by a coach who had a kid go up in a scissors lift in the wind and die because of his actions. They were a brainless fucking comment by an asshole. Georgia versus Clemson was another excellent game, and it's just too bad that Clemson is missing Trevor Lawrence. I weep for them. You know, it'd be really, I've never had anything against Georgia. I think Georgia it'd be fun to see Georgia win the SEC and beat Alabama and crush their hopes. And then, of course, we get two SEC teams in the college football playoff and have to hear about it over and over. But I think the bottom line, it was really nice to see a weekend of college football with fans in the stands, because the fans were amazing. There was some great shots of Florida State fans flipping off Notre Dame. There was a short clip of a North Carolina dad deciding that he was going to fight the entire Virginia Tech student section, apparently, and he chased one kid down and hit him, I guess, pretty well. I don't know whatever happened after that, but yay, fans. Okay, that was a bit of weekend wrap-up. I hope you're doing well. I hope you had a good Labor Day. It's getting to be over with. I'm smoking some pork loins. Please subscribe, take care of yourselves, and go Big Red.